welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. We're back.
We are back.
Unfortunately, we weren't able to come in yesterday on Wednesday as we normally do. I know you're gonna say this before stream, but I feel like I'm also gonna say it.
Go for it.
So yesterday we had a really bad weather day. It was very bad storm. We were in there's even the graph you sent on the WhatsApp group where it was just the Gibraltar and the area around it with this big bubble. And
20 square miles of storm.
Yeah, and then where Gibraltar was, big red blotch. So it's bad storm. We decided not to come in because traveling to and from where we do the stream. So we're doing it today. But I continue. I'm Brogan and I'm with Mike.
Hello. Julian is not here.
Yes.
Julian is in the big smoke making snowmen. So a big shout out to Julian. I hope he doesn't get too cold over there. I think it was minus 11 yesterday. Coming up, before we get to that, everything we say in these streams is not financial advice. It's our opinion and for edutainment purposes only. Today we're going to take a look at CZ and Binance. We're going to take a look at SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, and hit the fact he was arrested.
And then not freed anymore.
Sam Bankman not freed. That's right. And then anything you're looking forward to?
Probably the Polygon thing that we have at the end.
Okay.
I always like looking at the application of blockchain in current companies.
No, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. All right. Well, before we start, we'd like you all to please like and subscribe down below and press follow. But before we get into all of that, let's have a little look at the market prices because we had a bit of a pump and I think we've come straight back down to where we are normally.
Yes. So Bitcoin price, we are at $17,433. Go 7-day graph. We were, yes, like you said, we were at 18,300. What was this? Earlier? Yesterday.
Yeah.
But it's dumped, he dumped a bit and then obviously now the price is lower than it was at the high.
Basically what happened was the Fed came out last night and put interest rates up by 0.5%. And the price came crashing down. And the UK have put their interest rates up by another 0.5% today as well. So we're kind of back to square one with that. And as we keep saying, probably June, July next year, we should start to see the market under control.
Okay.
Maybe interest rates will stay level for the next 6-12 months.
Right.
And then hopefully, once they start to come down, we should start to see a recovery in the Bitcoin price.
And was it at some point this week, someone was going after CZ, wasn't it? Are we getting onto that?
We're going to cover CZ in a minute. And we're also going to cover SBF.
Right, I was just going to mention the fact that the currency is down 8% on the 7-day.
There's an awful lot of FUD around Binance.
Exactly.
Binance is the biggest crypto exchange in the world.
Yep.
There's a lot of FUD about them, and we'll get over that when we talk about it.
Obviously, yeah.
So before we get onto that, we have some word on the birds, I believe.
We do.
And I can't remember what they are.
Oh, goody. We have Twitter files.
Yes.
Ooh.
So these have becoming very, very common. And I didn't want to make every stream about the Twitter files because they come out every 3 or 4 days. We have another Twitter files, which coincides quite nicely with them coming out on a Friday before our Saturday stream, and they come out on a Tuesday or a Monday before our Wednesday stream.
Very convenient.
This is the one. Is this the Trump?
Trump one, yes.
This is the Trump one, and obviously we're not going to spend too long talking about it. But if you skim through,
I'll find the chunkier tweets and see if there's any information there.
There's a few things on there that you need to.
All right. Well, I'll skim it.
See
if I find anything interesting.
While you're skimming, I'll just explain what the Twitter files are.
Okay.
So Elon Musk purchased Twitter 6-8 weeks ago, and the first thing he did was, apart from sack half of the staff, was to bring in his Tesla engineers to go through the code, and he's carried out a forensic analysis of the history of the business, and in doing so, he's found out that Twitter has been rife with censorship. They have been censoring mainly the Republican Party, mainly right-wing opinions, this is mainly to do with the fact that the majority of Twitter staff were left-wing Democrats. So the first few Twitter files were to do with the democratic bias was one. Then we covered the censorship of individuals without those individuals being told. So they were called shadow banned, which meant they weren't being seen by anybody else on the network. They were hidden from search results. And the latest one, probably the most explosive in terms of name, probably the least important one, is the fact that Donald Trump was banned from Twitter. And have you found anything you want to read out about it?
There was just basically a conversation before what I found now, basically talking about some tweets he had. He had like 2 strikes, had 1 strike remaining, and he was just thanking everyone who voted for him.
Yeah.
And here, it was basically between about 7 and 10, discussing, or before that, about 6 or 5 on the tweet order, it was discussing how Twitter wanted to keep an open, like it didn't want to regulate one side of one party over the other to keep it more fair. And now it's going on to now, which I found quite interesting, are the people working inside of Twitter have their own political view, and if it's the majority vote, you can't stop people working there from trying to take effect. So one thing someone said is we have to do the right thing and ban this account. You know, keep out their right thing. Obviously, they must be the opposite party. Even though coming from a company who say they're not have any political bias, obviously people working inside of Twitter itself are going to have some sort of political bias as an individual. The
problem that that Twitter had was that over the course of a few years, it's very apparent from the outside looking back that the people that were right-wing, i.e. Republican in America, they were leaving the company, which can only be because of they were outnumbered by Democratic left-wing individuals. So I imagine that as a place to work, if you didn't agree with the narrative, then you were either kicked out or you left. And that's one of those vicious circles. The more Democratic people you have, the more left-wing people you have, the harder it is for right-wing politics to get a foot in.
Right.
And I mean, there's no way back. Once you get past the tipping point, you know, once you get to 70, 80, 90% of your staff being left-wing, how is that ever going to be a fair balance?
Oh, another one here, 16. I think there was a conversation on Slack between some employees. I assume this woman who Barry mentions is probably someone of regulation on Twitter. It says she does just that. As an FYI, safety has assessed that Donald Trump's tweet above has assessed the tweet and determined that there is no violation of our policies at this time. Obviously they go on to try and get him banned on the basis of was it incitement? And we can clearly see by this number 16 there was actually no violation of the tweet or no violation of any rules from this tweet, yet he still got banned regardless.
Yep, exactly.
I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I'm nearing the end.
This is just a word on the bird. We don't have to go through this. The point of the matter is that we need to try and keep this in, we need to try and keep referring to this so that people understand that what's gone on in the past is not the fault of Elon Musk, and he's actually trying to...
I've had a really bad one.
Okay.
So they banned... Sorry to interrupt, but they banned... Okay. Obviously, they banned Donald Trump for his tweet of just thanking everyone and whatever he said.
Yeah. I'm
just going to read the whole thing because it's horrible. In October 2020, the former Malaysian Prime Minister said it was a right for Muslims to kill millions of French people. Twitter deleted his tweet for glorifying violence, but he remains on the platform. The tweet below was taken from the Wayback Machine. It says, the Muslims have right to be angry, to kill millions of French people for the massacres of the past. And he's still on Twitter.
Exactly.
And that is 10 times worse. Not even 10. Million times worse than what Donald Trump didn't do anything, didn't say anything.
He didn't incite.
Inherently wrong.
No, he didn't.
He didn't do anything. He just thanked people for supporting him.
I know. So the rule is here, try and find some Twitter accounts which are following this Twitter files, especially ours. If you look in our description, you'll find our Twitter account.
Yes.
Follow us, and we will always link the very first tweet of the thread, so you can follow up and see what's happening.
Yeah.
Now, there's a second word of the bird.
There is. Let me get up to it. This is from Miles. That's her name. CPI coming in under expectations was a big win, but all eyes are on FOMC today. 50 base points is almost guaranteed. However, the language Jerome Powell uses, dovish or hawkish, will dictate the market's response. You sent me the stream when it happened.
Yeah,
we were watching it. I think one of your comments was he didn't really have any significant dovish or hawkish.
No, he didn't. What language. He did, the markets have read this as a neutral. What that means is that they've not read it as dovish, they've not read it as hawkish, it's like a neutral.
Right.
And the reason being is that if you listen to what he said, the long and short of it is, without going into too much depth, we've done the hard work, we've put interest rates up, 450 basis points. We're now starting to see inflation come down.
Yep.
Wage inflation and housing inflation are on a lag. And what that means is that the decisions they're making now, today, are going to take 3 to 6 months to come through. Food inflation, energy inflation is coming down quickly. Right. So people's shopping, people's energy bills should start to come down a lot quicker. Yep. And we should start to come out of this, sooner rather than later. So for me, this was neutral. The markets reacted, they went up, then they balanced out. Crypto did the same. Crypto was 17,000 and a bit a week ago. It's now 17.4.
Yes.
So we're at the same price.
Yeah.
So until they start to get the belief that he will turn dovish, Bitcoin is a risk-on asset. People are not going to buy Bitcoin in the millions or billions until they get that signal from Chairman Powell.
That the economy is at a good position.
Correct.
Yeah.
Now, of every sort of baddie in this pantomime, you've got Gary Gensler, you've got Sam Bankman-Fried. Chairman Powell is actually somebody that comes across as a fairly sincere character.
Yes.
The same as the guy in the charge of the Bank of England. They're as neutral as they can be. They don't make political decisions. No. But what they do is they try and work to a remit that stops the American or the British public from taking the brunt of these bad political decisions, i.e. money printing.
What I like about when I was watching the stream, I haven't watched too much of it, or of him in the past. But I like he doesn't add any murky language to what he's saying. He says the facts. He doesn't really add any clutter to it, so you can really, he says what's happened, and he gives you what that has caused, which I think is a really good thing, and what needs to happen. Correct. What a person in power needs to have, who's going to talk to the public. Yeah. Because I was saying to you one night, like yesterday or the day before, that people in the public eye who are talking about what the government's doing, the majority of people aren't big on economics, so you need to have people who are going to convey this information.
Correct. Which is what we're trying to do on this channel, is try and translate everything into plain English so everybody understands. And Chairman Powell, like you've just said, he does that. Yeah. He explains it. Yeah. We don't want household goods inflation because it makes the American public poorer. Bank of England is the same. The British public, we don't want them to be poorer. Wage inflation, if kept under control, makes people richer over time and allows them to buy more, gives them more spending power. So as long as it's put into plain English that people can understand, they don't need to read the Financial Times or, CNBC or Bloomberg. They just need to listen to somebody that says, in 6 months' time, food prices will come down, energy prices will come down, and you won't feel as poor as you do today. Yep. And I think that's the takeaway for me. So for me, he was neutral, which is good, because for the last 9 months, he's been hawkish, which means he's had a negative opinion of the market. So it's all good. Now then, let's move on to...
Article.
There are probably people out there that know about this.
Oh, yeah.
But Sam Bankman-Fried ran a crypto exchange called FTX. Yep. He owned Alameda Research, which was a trading company, and he was a 90% shareholder. Finally, he was arrested on Sunday, I think, or Monday. He was arrested. He has probably defrauded people out of somewhere in the region of 10 or 15 billion.
Yep.
And people are comparing him to Bernie Madoff. The problem, and we said this on the last stream, he has friends in very high places. Yes. He's the 4th biggest donor to the Democrat Party ever. He has bought newspapers, as in he's bought the owners to keep the narrative on him positive. Yep. He has bribed people. If he can't bribe them, he's bought them out. So to have him arrested has come at the right time to make people believe that the American government are actually trying to do something about this. Yeah. And there was a hearing this week. But before we get onto that, let's take a few pieces out of this.
Right. So, FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried denied bail in Bahamas as extradition to US looms. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been denied bail by a Bahama judge after being accused of what has been described as one of America's biggest financial frauds. He's been charged with 8 criminal violations ranging from wire fraud to money laundering to conspiracy to commit fraud. The judge says his risk of flight was too great and ordered that he be sent to a Bahamas correction facility until February 8th.
That's right.
It's giving some background here. I'm not going to read that. Tuesday's court hearing in the Bahamas, where FTX is based, where Mr. Bankman-Fried was arrested at his gated community capital, marked his first in-person public appearance since cryptocurrency exchange's collapse. He appeared relaxed when he arrived and heavily guarded. He told the court he could fight extradition to the United States. Okay, right. And he was denied bail if he fights extradition. Okay. Well, yeah. I mean, it's not really much to. I mean, obviously there's something to discuss, but there's nothing really
in the article.
Yeah.
No, but it gives a good background.
Yeah.
So what's happened this week is there's been a hearing, and a couple of people have been called up. One of which is the guy that has taken over FTX. So he's the kind of the acting CEO.
Right.
And he's a chap who took over Enron. So Enron was an energy company. Or was it an oil company? I think it was an oil company, but energy company. And he took over when there were massive accusations of fraud, exactly the same as SBF and FTX. What's transpired is he's gone in and he's found it to be worse than Enron. I mean, simple things such as they use QuickBooks to run a multi-billion-pound company, which is a piece of software you run off one computer or a mobile phone. So there's no paperwork. There are bank accounts that nobody knows about. Money is squirreled away everywhere. Yep. Money that should be in FTX has been in Alameda's bank accounts. It's basically a fiefdom run by Sam Bankman-Fried, where he has controlled where money has gone to and come from. And they've spent it all. Right. So he's gone in there. The second chap that came up was is it called Kevin O'Leary, the guy we spoke about on Saturday? I think it was. Yeah. So he was paid $15 million by Sam Bankman-Fried to help promote
him.
FTX. Exactly. Yeah. Now, Kevin O'Leary, I think is having that. Is it victim syndrome? It's not. Is it, or captive syndrome? It's where you start to feel sympathy towards your captors. So you start to feel sorry for the person who's kidnapped you. Right. Now he's lost $15 million.
Or lost out on $15 million.
Yeah. Well, he had the $15 million.
Yeah, right.
But he kept it in FTX.
That's true.
If he'd have taken it out, still have the $15 million. So he came up before Parliament in America and basically said, it's all the fault of CZ at Binance.
Right, okay.
He's asked for $20 billion. He's tried to sell his shares in FTX. He's crippled them. He's done this, he's done that. And what he's trying to do is deflect from FTX and Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, and distract with Binance.
Correct. So he's still in denial that Sam Bankman-Fried is a criminal. And he's a criminal. He's a fraud. He's Bernie Madoff of the crypto world.
Right.
He should go to prison for a very long time. And the issue I've got with this is that I don't see Sam Bankman-Fried spending anything more than 5 or 10 years in prison when he should be spending 40 or 50 years in prison.
Yes.
But because of who he knows and because of his political clout, I can't see them all turning on him, and I can see him doing 5 or 10 years.
Yeah. I mean, with his position and power and money, he's probably going to have a nice time in jail.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, as long as he can have... I mean, it's America, it depends, but corruption in jails is quite common. So, if he could just, say, oh, yeah, I'll pay you off.
Yeah.
He'll have a nice time in jail.
Of course he will.
He'll obviously have his 5 and 10 years.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be... It's just going to be a waiting period for him.
Exactly. He'll have a fun time.
Yeah.
Now, what followed on from this is, now, again, going back a bit, so the new viewers know who we're talking about. CZ is the CEO and pretty much the owner of Binance, the biggest crypto exchange in the world. And he's the one that people are starting to see at the minute as being a hero. I don't consider him to be a hero. I consider him to be somebody in charge of the biggest exchange in the world who is manipulating the narrative to suit his goals. Right. Now, I'm not saying he's as bad as Sam. He clearly isn't. But we are very quick to call people the baddies, and we're very quick to call people the good guys. And I don't see anybody in crypto as being a good guy, apart from maybe Michael Saylor, at a push. And I think with life, people who run companies like Binance, they tend to be narcissists and very self-centered.
Right.
So CZ started the ball rolling on FTX and was the one that ultimately caused them to crash and therefore cost the market money, cost individuals money. Now, is he going to go to jail? That's the headline of the stream.
Right. What's CZ?
CZ.
Okay.
So can if you go through this,
yep,
I'll get your opinion and see what you think.
Okay. Binance shrugs off withdrawal worries. Significant withdrawals are being made at Binance, but the crypto giant has shrugged off concerns and made reassurances about its financial health. Billions of dollars in digital assets are being pulled out of crypto exchange Binance, including about $1.14 billion of net withdrawals on Tuesday, according to CZ.
Just to update that number, I listened to him yesterday morning on an AMA, and I think the total amount withdrawn, not including amounts put back in, was $6 billion. Right. So it's gone up a bit since then.
Nonetheless, he's made reassurances about the financial health. Some days we have net withdrawals, some days we have net deposits. Business as usual for us, he said in a tweet. People deposit and withdraw assets every day for a variety of different reasons. User assets at Binance are all backed one-to-one, and Binance's capital structure is debt-free, a spokesperson said. A Reuters report citing...
That'll do. That's fine.
I think that's... I mean, the article's pretty short. I don't think there's anything else really to say.
So what's happened since then is people have been asking for CZ to go and give evidence in a federal court in America. And FTX and Binance are both structured in a way that they both have an American arm, a separate legal entity, right, and they both have their international business. Now, FTX US is solvent. It can pay everybody back.
And that's why...
That's where it confuses me about why Sam Bankman-Fried is going to be on trial in America, when the American side of the business...
Because the whole point of this, and the whole point why he wasn't in jail sooner, which was what I understood, I could be wrong, was the fact that FTX US, as of the only worry of America, was, running through the books fine. It was running appropriately.
Yeah.
Obviously, FTX outside of America wasn't. We know that. So it's also confusing to me that it's being dealt with by America.
Correct.
Even though the American company, which is what America should be worrying about, was completely fine.
What I can't understand, and this is overreach again by the Americans, because the Americans think they're the world.
Right.
They think they run the world.
Yep.
They have got the reserve currency. The American dollar is the reserve currency. They are one of the biggest economies in the world.
Yeah, biggest trust. I'd say.
Yeah, exactly.
The biggest faith in a country.
Yeah.
Is America.
Now, if a company commits fraud that doesn't impact on a single American or an American territory, why are they going after Sam Bankman-Fried? Why would they question CZ in an American court? Because it's none of their business.
No.
The same with crypto regulations. They're talking about regulating crypto. No. You're regulating crypto in America.
Yeah.
You're not regulating crypto around the world. You're not regulating it in China or Russia or Europe or South America.
Why do all the crypto companies work in a load of places other than America? Because regulation isn't currently and or as strong in the future for crypto.
Yeah.
So, it's true, exactly what you said. They think they're the leading light in crypto,
exactly,
even though it's only under the jurisdiction of America.
Now let me ask you this point I've just thought of. This is a very good point.
Okay.
When Enron committed its fraud and its crime,
right,
they didn't want to shut down the energy business or the oil business. They didn't want to regulate it to within an inch of its life. So why, because of one bad actor in Sam Bankman-Fried, why are they wanting to come crashing down on crypto when clearly crypto isn't Sam Bankman-Fried?
No.
He's a bad egg. And why is he a bad egg? Because there is no global regulation to stop him.
Yeah.
And they have allowed this to happen in America.
Yeah.
They've allowed this to happen in Europe. They've allowed this to happen globally because they've sat there and wanted something like this to happen so they can come down on it like a ton of bricks.
Yep.
So back to CZ. Sorry. CZ is I'd like to say he's a larger-than-life character, but he isn't. He's just an average Joe that runs an exchange. And if he was asked to go and give evidence in front of a federal court, why should he? He's not an American citizen. He is not in America. He's in, I think, maybe Singapore, maybe somewhere else.
And there's Binance US. I assume that's operating fine.
Correct.
So why does it matter?
So should he go to jail? No. Should he be investigated? No. Has he committed any crimes? Not that we know of.
So is he gonna go to America for this court hearing? Where is it? Court hearing? Is that about him?
No, that's about Sam Bankman-Fried.
Right. Okay. So they're obviously trying to get him due to some sort of involvement. Has he had any? I mean, apart from tweeting about it and talking about it.
CZ and Binance owned 10% of FTX, and the entire FTX fiefdom came crashing down when CZ announced on Twitter that they were going to sell their shares, or they weren't shares, their tokens in FTX. That started the bank run, and that caused FTX to crash. Now, FTX had a huge hole in it. FTX was on borrowed time. This would never have happened in a bull market because there would have been too much money flowing around because we're in a bear market, at the bottom of a bear market, and everybody's buckets are empty, FTX went to the wall. So CZ did everybody in the market a huge favour. But that doesn't make him a hero. He was the one that started it. And if you want to talk about who actually started it, Ben Armstrong, BitBoy Ben, he was the whistleblower on all of this.
Yeah, and wasn't his lawyer go try to do something as well?
He was working on a bill
yeah,
to help crypto regulation, and he had a few people on side, and one of them was approached by FTX to go and work on a bill which would have shut down DeFi, required a bit license, this thing. So if you're going to talk about who actually came out first, he might not have been the first person on Twitter or the first person on social media.
Right.
The first big voice that came out against Sam Bankman-Fried was BitBoy Crypto. And then CZ came along, and then the ball started to roll. I think people withdrew in the end, something like $6 billion worth of Bitcoin. And what happened? They ran out of cash because it was a stack of cards. It was always going to come crashing down. So
right.
CZ will not go to jail yet.
Right. Yes. You can never say never in this new times of crypto.
Exactly, because people held Sam Bankman-Fried up as the poster boy.
He was exactly the poster boy. FTX, biggest one of the biggest crypto exchanges.
Exactly.
Known by a lot of people. And then now we find out he's had holes in all the places. Worse than a block of cheese.
He was worse than a block of cheese. Right. Next, we have a
tweet.
No
tweet.
Oh, what's the tweet?
Twitter by CZ.
Is this the one where it says we're all Satoshi?
Oh.
What's his tweet?
It's a thread of tweets.
By the way, we should do our sponsored. What's our stream sponsored by today? Because I'm sponsored by Arizona Fruit Punch, and you're sponsored by
Dead Man's Finger.
Dead Man's Finger,
Very
which
nice.
is what? Passion fruit and rum.
Yes, passion fruit rum lemonade. It's amazing.
I'm sure
it's probably the best flavour out of the rest of them. There's like 3 of them. Ginger beer's awful.
Yeah.
The cola one's alright.
One.
Huh?
Coconut? Is it coconut and cola?
Yeah, I think so. But this one's just
passion fruit and lemonade. Beautiful.
Very nice.
So, if you like passion fruit, rum, or fruit punch, please
check them out.
Like and subscribe.
Oh, right. I know. Hold on. I know. Okay. Well, the expiry date has the year. No, that's not expiry date. Okay. Well, it's 2022, right? And as our Christmas gift, by some point next year, we would like to have 2022 subscribers.
I'd like 2023 subscribers.
Oh, you know what? Yeah, New Year's present.
That should be our target for next year. 2023.
Like
so,
that's good.
This is really bad news, and this is
Australia.
This is one for Wifey. So if Wifey's watching,
is this Australia?
Yeah.
Come skip the CD thing. Whatever.
So you don't need to read this out in an Aussie accent, please don't.
Okay, no, sorry. Australian citizens can only access Bitcoin if they have enough social credits. Oh, sound like China now. According to a new law, Australian citizens need at least 100 score of social credits before performing any digital transaction. This includes crypto trading or accessing the web. What?
Correct.
Accessing the internet?
Yep.
I thought China was bad. China has like this stigma of...
China is... obviously, it's the big brother of all governments in the world. It's the biggest brother
in terms of controlling the citizens.
However, Australia, based on what's happening now, is not far behind.
I mean, not a precursor, but even with people coming into Australia from planes, you need to have a good reason or have a family member to vouch for you.
Yeah, they've got immigration controls. That's completely acceptable for immigration. We're not talking about immigration. We're talking about
visiting and etc.
No, we're talking about how they treat their own citizens. And during C, they were, arresting people left, right, and centre, beating people left, right, and centre. Yeah. They had horses, they had dogs, and they were basically China. It was a totalitarian campaign against its citizens. Yeah. And this is just carrying on from where they were. So, is there anything else in the article you want to go over?
Yes, I haven't really read it yet. Decision to implement a social credit point system for its citizens has generated an uproar. Completely fair, especially on social media. Australian government has devised a new policy to checkmate citizens' access to cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin. It introduced a social credit system based on unique digital identifications before its citizens can access the web or perform any digital-related transactions. So you need 100 points.
So work forward from where we are now. They're going to bring in a digital ID, which is attached to your your health, your bank account, your access to the internet. The next thing that's going to happen, and Julian's not here, so I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on. My conspiracy theorist is in full flow.
Sorry, I'm ready.
So, digital ID, digital health records, stopping you from doing things, probably travel, probably accessing supermarkets. Then they're going to bring in a CBDC. What's a CBDC? Central Bank Digital Currency. And what are they going to do with that? They're going to control your money. What happens if you go and see your doctor and your doctor says, I think you drink too much? You can't buy alcohol. What happens if he says you're slightly overweight? You can't go to a supermarket and buy fast food. You can't go to McDonald's. You can't go to Burger King. What happens if he says something like, we don't like your political persuasion because you're too right-wing? Are you suddenly not allowed to travel within the country? Are you not allowed to spend your money? The problem isn't the tools. A digital health ID is a brilliant idea for when you travel to another country and they can connect your digital ID and find out. It's a great idea.
It's a snowball effect.
It's not the technology that's the problem. It's how it's welded. The guy that split the atom, he never thought it was going to be dropped on Hiroshima and Kawasaki. Was it Kawasaki?
Kawasaki.
One of them. Ken, if you're watching, please put a comment below to make sure I've got the second city correct. But the point is, it's not the technology, it's how it's wielded.
Exactly.
And in the UK, I have faith that we would never get as far as Australia is going because of the public outrage. But in Australia, it seems to be that we've sent them there as convicts and they haven't changed in 200 years.
I was going to mention that, but I didn't feel like it was a tasteful thing to do. Think about it. I mean, America, because we colonized America, right? Britain, we went over. I know Christopher Columbus went over, whatever, I don't know who it was, but we colonized it.
Yeah.
And they split off from us.
Yeah. And it's been downhill ever since.
And now it's like a bad tumour, which is split off from the body and spreading everywhere else. Over there, do that.
They've been at war for 300 years.
With everything. Just fight things.
With everybody. Yeah. Exactly. And Australia, they haven't been at war with anybody because they don't have anything other than,
they can't leave, so...
Yeah, I mean, they've got China on the doorstep. That causes them a huge problem. Although they want to have ties to Europe and the UK and America, they have China on their doorstep, which is probably the biggest superpower in the world.
Yes.
You have China.
Very low transport costs for, things produced in China. Think about what's produced in China.
Yeah.
That's right. Everything.
Everything's produced in China, correct. So, as far as I'm concerned, Australia is on a slippery path.
Yeah.
And at some point, either the people revolt or they submit.
What I find funny about this article, it's a very long article. We haven't really talked about it, but we've talked about it ourselves.
Yeah.
The first subheading of the article is also in China, and it's about 3 or 4 paragraphs comparing China and Australia. It's exactly what we've said, and it's the obvious comparison.
Yeah.
That Australia are going to end up turning to China.
Yeah.
which probably isn't a good thing.
No, it's absolutely not a
We've
good
already
thing.
got enough of one China. We don't need two Chinas.
We have. So if you're watching, please drop a comment below about what you think about Australia and this new digital ID, because we don't think it's a great idea,
Definitely
do we?
No.
Next is it's not a complicated article.
No.
And
It's orange though on the sidebar.
it is because you probably require some level of understanding of it.
Right.
So do you want to run us through the article before we go on to it? It's not a quick one. It's a quick one, this.
Oh,
cool.
Cool.
We're doing okay for time.
Are we? How long have we been streaming for? Let's check that.
About 40 minutes.
43 minutes, okay.
Yeah, not bad.
All right. Well, 3 shocking ways. 3 shocking ways the blockchain will change real estate. A bit of a. The article's a bit glitched, I think. Realtors must adapt to the future industry disruption blockchain will cause or be left behind. Oh, this is an intro. Okay.
I can probably tell you the 3 things off the top of my head. But in terms of
mentioning NFTs.
Yeah, you've got. I mean.
Oh right. So it's talking about basically creating an apartment complex. So I've scrolled down a bit here.
Yeah.
All the text is very thin and small. It's quite hard to pick out things here. But what I'm going to pick out here is it's basically saying turning an apartment complex or a house or land into an NFT where people can buy fractions or the NFT itself as ownership.
Just let me explain that in plain English. So fractionalization is a little bit like a company and its shares on the stock market. You can buy one share in a company and own 1/1,000,000th or 100,000,000th of that company through that one share. And with blockchain technology, you could break up a house, a famous piece of art, a famous sculpture. You can break it up into 1,000,000 tokens or shares, and each individual can own 1/1,000,000th of that house, of that painting, of the artwork. And the reason this is game changing is that up until a few years ago, you had to be rich to buy shares because you needed a stockbroker. And the barrier to entry for a normal person was too high.
Right.
So, for example, you would need to buy a minimum of £10,000 worth of shares to be able to carry out the trade.
Right.
Now, you could buy 1/1,000,000th of a house for £1 on the blockchain, for example, if it's £1,000,000 house. And then you can buy and sell that share or that NFT or that token. And because there's no middleman, there's no transaction costs.
Right.
And real estate really is the biggest market that hasn't been touched by this yet.
Yeah. Well, going back to the article, there are. I think I picked out 2 things now. The second one is fraud. Basically saying all the information will be accessed via this NFT.
And it's immutable.
Right, so you can't change it or edit it in any sense. So that means the information on the creation of the NFT, assuming the creation of it, I mean, you'll be able to see all the data of it, so you can see who created it. So you can check, okay, well, the system of buying and selling, I don't know, the real estate NFT company. Another
good application of this, I'm not going to change the subject, is cars. When you buy a car, you get a logbook.
Right.
A logbooks, traditionally, where I'm from anyway, in Manchester, they are maybe not accurate and they can be altered and edited. On the blockchain, the same with the house, you will be able to see the entire history of who owns that house, aren't you?
Yep. I mean, yeah, like we said, immutable. You'll be able to see that the NFT was made by the official source, and all the information about the house can't be changed. It only can be traded and passed along throughout different accounts and wallets. I don't know. Running a title report. A report of the house.
Yeah. What happens is, over the years, some types of businesses have benefited from abusing their positions within the system. So, checking the deeds of a house, checking the ownership of a house, checking if there's a debt on the house, the mortgage of the house, all of these things, you need special special subscriptions to access it, which you and me don't have.
Right.
It goes on the blockchain. It becomes public information. You could type in 5 Main Street, UK, and you'll see the history of that house, who owned it before them, how long it's been owned for, how much it cost, how much it was sold for, all these things. So it's removing the middleman, a little bit like DeFi. It's removing the middleman. And by removing the middleman, what you're actually doing, in effect, you're removing the cost.
Right.
So to sell a house in the UK, you need a lawyer who'll charge you, what, 1%?
Yeah.
So 1% of £1 million house is £10,000. What's he doing for that £10,000? Editing the contract, downloading the deeds, downloading your service, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You put all of that on the blockchain. Why do you need a lawyer? Because you have to pay your taxes. That's fair. You know, when you sell a house in the UK, you have to pay, when you buy a house in the UK, you have to pay stamp duty, which is what you pay to the government for the transfer of the deeds and all of these other things. But you don't need all these middlemen in the middle to take, £5,000 here, £500 there, £1,000 there, which just costs who? The average person. Yet again, they are being charged the same way they're not allowed to buy stocks and shares because there's a minimum price.
Yeah, so the only costs which are going to be present which are necessary, are obviously what you just said,
the taxes.
Stamp duty,
yeah,
and the transaction fees, which is negligible on any sort of logical blockchain you'd apply this to.
So you'll probably find there'll be some kind of online business who will do all of this for you, but at a fraction of the cost that you're paying now.
Yes.
So from the man in the street, the woman in the street, this is something in the future which is going to benefit us all in a positive way.
Yes.
And if Julian was here, and the point of the article was for Julian he likes real world applications of blockchain.
Yes.
So that's why this was in this week, because had we done it last night, Julian would be here. Instead, we're here talking about it, and he's building a snowman. I hope he brought the carrots.
Yes, I hope he did too.
Right. So the next one is more. This is going to be you. I'm gonna
a me thing.
This is a you thing.
A bit of me.
Yeah.
All right.
This is the BTC gamers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gamers are more interested in earning Bitcoin than NFTs. Survey says. While some gamers are against non-fungible tokens integration for games, a large portion are willing to play if they are given opportunities to earn cryptocurrency, according to a recent survey. So a fintech firm, ZBD, published the results of a study, which basically just said an over percentage of gamers would rather earn crypto than an NFT, or buy and sell NFTs on a marketplace. 67% of respondents are more likely to play free games if the games offered crypto rewards, and 45% believe there are benefits to being able to trade game characters, so basically NFTs. And then no one really said anything else. Okay.
So the question for you is, because we've talked about this, every week for the last 3 months we've had this conversation about NFTs and gamers, and I think the question is, if you boil it all down, what do we have to do to get gamers to play crypto games? That's it. That's the question.
Yes.
Now, from your point of view, how do we do that?
Well, we always seem to come back to the same conversation.
We do.
Always not at every stream. Whenever we mention games and NFTs, it's always the same. All the companies need to join together and make their own framework, and then everyone can use it. But I'm going to say again, we need popular, and so firstly, I'm not going to go down the route of, we need Ubisoft, Epic Games, this, that, the other to do it. Although that is probably one of the biggest ways of doing it, is to get these big companies, which already exist, to integrate games and a system of NFTs. But what I think to boil it down even further, indie games is basically an indie game is basically a game made by, either a solo developer
or a small team.
And they're normally quite unique. Fortnite's quite big, and Call of Duty, they're big games, but like indie games are maybe not as less. There are some very good indie games, but a bit less, in terms of quality. But they're normally quite good in story, and innovation in terms of games. So even simpler, I think we need an indie game or a slightly big company to come in, make a good game. Because we said this quite a while ago, where all the bad NFT games are going to come out now because they're easy to make, which means they're bad.
First to market.
Exactly. And a good game takes a lot of years to make. So whenever the game, NFT game technology and cryptocurrency comes out, if you give it a couple of years, that's when the new games are going to come out, which are really good. We've seen, Star Atlas being developed. We had the demo where you could see your own ship. That's still, I think, quite far. It's still quite a bit away.
A long way to go.
Very far away. And that's going to be a good game when it comes out, because the engine, Unreal Engine 5, really good graphics.
So let me ask you the second question then. So your answer to the first part of the question is, it doesn't matter, it has to be a good game.
Yeah.
That's your first answer.
Yeah.
Okay. The second question then is, yes, it's a good game. How do players get remunerated? Now, my question about this is, with Star Atlas, you have its own token. With other games, they have their own token. With other games, they have their own NFTs.
Yeah.
What happens with NFTs and tokens tends to be, if there is not enough buy pressure, the token goes to zero.
Right.
So I've talked to a chap called Don Kane, who I'll tag on the video, and hopefully we'll get him on the channel soon.
Okay.
What I've talked to Don Kane about is that it's a race to zero. And what that means is that there's no reason to buy a token. So if you're playing a game called, let's call it Rift.
Okay.
You play Rift, and every time you win, you get 100 Rift tokens. And they're worth a cent or a penny.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly, you've got your £5 in Rift tokens, and you go and cash out. And then you do the same thing the following day, and it's worth 75p or 60 cents or whatever.
Right.
And then within 3 weeks' time, you're playing a game and you're making 30p a day, 35 cents a day, because there's no buy pressure. There's no reason to buy these tokens. So my question is, how does a game that's good and blockchain enabled, how does a game use either its own token or Bitcoin or Ethereum? How does it generate the revenue to pay you to play the game?
Right.
You might not have an answer to this, and if you did have an answer to this, you'd probably be working for a gaming company. But in your opinion, how would they tackle this?
What I would think, I could be wrong obviously, but it's opinion, is they would have to try their very hardest to add as much utility either in or outside of the game as possible for the token or NFTs. That being, you could either stake it. So just give. Okay, before I go into what I would say is, give the currency and the NFTs enough reason for people to actually want it.
So hodl is what you're saying.
Right.
So what you're saying is that you might have to work really hard to earn a skin for a certain...
Yeah, I mean, rarity helps, especially, yes.
Yeah. So in terms of NFTs, if you've got to go through 100 wins to get this skin, you're going to want to hold on to it. You're not going to sell it. Now, in terms of tokens, the staking idea, I like that. In terms of, let's say you earn 1,000 tokens.
Yeah.
And on day one, that's worth $10. And as I've just said, after 2 months, that's going to go to zero.
Right.
And the reason I know this is, if you play World of Warcraft, or you have played World of Warcraft,
yeah,
at the beginning of every expansion, every new release of the game, what happens is the cost of resources or or cloth or herbs or whatever, it's at an astronomical price. And then, as I've coined the term, there's a race to zero, which means that it might be 10 gold on day one of the release, but after about 2 months it goes to maybe half a gold.
Right.
So it's a race to zero for everybody because there's no reason for the prices to stay high.
No.
And if you make them too rare, you kind of disincentivize people to play games.
Right. I mean, it's true. I mean, a lot of like keeping a crypto worth of value correlates heavily with game psychology. So I've watched there's like some like press conferences on YouTube and things where I can't remember what the conference is called, but where a bunch of game creators who want to monetize their game all go and talk or listen to a guy talking, and it's an hour-long video of them talking about how they, there's the hook purchase where, for example, I'll talk about mobile games are huge. When you first learn into the game, you get offered to buy something, which is, either a really high price, which is...
Can I ask a question about that?
Yeah.
Is that not a Ponzi scheme?
What?
So, for example, you want to play a game, and to play the game, you need to put in, like you say, a hook, and let's say that hook is $5. Well, what happens to that $5? That $5 gets distributed amongst the
I don't mean
players.
To play the game you need $5.
No, neither am I. But what I'm saying is that a Ponzi scheme is where the system is built on existing people getting the revenue from new people,
Right.
and then obviously bits being siphoned off for the owners, etc. So you let's say you have to pay £15 for Fortnite. That money never goes to the individuals because it goes to Fortnite for development or whatever. In a crypto game, you have to buy your 10,000 Star Atlas tokens. Right. Your revenue goes straight to Star Atlas, or it doesn't, and it goes to the open market because you have to buy them on the open market.
Right.
So there's a buy pressure on the token. But what you're talking about there is a system whereby somebody comes along and wants to play this new game called Rift. But the hook is they've got to pay $5. Now, some people, like say you were saying before about staking a token, well, the rewards for staking the token have got to come from somewhere,
right? Which
would be the new people coming along and being hooked.
Right.
Well, that, in my opinion, is either a pyramid scheme or it's a Ponzi scheme.
But as long as you obfuscate it so much, no one's going to know.
No, you're right. They won't know. And if they're not, you're spot on. And you've said something then that's made me think, what would happen is, let's say you don't need 100 wins for the skin. Let's say you still get your tokens for the skin, but you need 100 wins worth of tokens to buy the skin.
Right.
So what would happen then is the buy pressure on the tokens is you buying the skin for the tokens.
Right. I mean, there's many ways of doing this. There's, buying the tokens to then buy a skin, or another system could be the more tokens you put into either a stake or a gamble, the more likely you are to get the skin. It's simple gamble techniques. And another thing which is really, really important for mobile games is, I think we've even experienced this with, like Clash Royale, for example.
Yeah.
The way a mobile game works, based off in-app purchases, is after the first purchase, it breaks the barrier, the mental barrier of, I don't want to spend any money in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Once you've spent £5, let's say £2, it completely removes that barrier as a user, where you're then allowed to spend a lot more money.
Yeah.
So they'll offer you crazy deals. You'll spend a bit of money, and no matter how much money it is, maybe, but no matter how much money it is, it will completely remove that barrier of, I've now spent money in this game. I'll either carry on playing it, where they can now, wrap you in further with different deals, or, well, I've spent money now, I might as well spend more money to get even better. So there's a lot of schemes you could put into the game based off, okay, the more tokens you have, the more likely you are to get a skin. So then it's buy pressure, people actually playing the game, keeping the game alive.
Yeah.
Rare skins, people, you want to sell it, it keeps the economy going. So there's a lot of psychological and systematic things you can implement to cause a thriving economy or blockchain based off your own currency.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why.
So what you're saying is, you need number one, you need a game that people want to play.
Yes.
And
Addictive,
number two, you need to create an economy within the game that automatically generates its own buy pressure.
Right.
Because what you want really is you want Call of Duty, Fortnite, their economies rolled in and put into a blockchain game, for example, because they're always going to want you to spend your tokens on skins.
Yes.
So you could have seasons of Call of Duty, for example, and every 3 months there's going to be a huge buy pressure on the tokens. And as long as the emissions or the tokens that are being generated are being taken out of the economy by skins, NFTs, you've kind of found an equilibrium, haven't you?
Yeah, battle passes.
Battle passes.
You can, it costs. So battle passes. You spend your tokens to get the battle pass. Then you get NFTs of skins or items. It could be randomized as well from the battle pass, which increases further randomness. I think it's a bit strenuous, but I think randomness equals thriving.
You know what? The battle pass idea for Star Atlas is such a good idea.
Yeah.
Because what you could do is you could say, right, 10,000 Star Atlas a month or every quarter, whatever it might be, will give you a container. And within that container, you might get a certain ship of a certain rarity. You'll get skins, and you'll get whatever it might be. And what happens then is you remove all the sell pressure from the game, because what you're doing is, rather than concentrating on the gameplay, which you'll have a team for, you've got a team fully focused on how do we basically suck Star Atlas out of existence. Right. And then what happens is you might have 60,000 players, 600,000 players in a game. If 500,000 of those are buying these battle passes or saving up for the battle passes, you've reduced the sell pressure by 85%. Right. And then what happens is that, let's say somebody does want to get themselves $100 because they need it to buy another token somewhere else. When they come to sell it, there's a casual that's come along and said, you know what, I need my battle pass for Star Atlas. I'll pay my 10,000 Star Atlas and get my crate. And then you've got a reason to spend your Star Atlas without selling it. You've got a reason to buy Star Atlas, these quarterly.
Yeah. Well, I was thinking as well, like, I don't know if this is a psychological trick or anything, but I think it's best to refer to a battle pass in terms of seasons rather than quantifiable months, because then you can have a season be only 3 weeks and it's less than a month. Yeah,
but what I'm thinking is in terms like the practicality of a company the size of Star Atlas. They're still trying to build the game out. So to do anything less than maybe 1, 2 or 3 months at this moment in time is not possible.
Yeah.
Now, let's move forward to 2025 and the game is, let's say, 75% built. You could have a 12-season year and you might need 1,000 Star Atlas tokens to buy it. Or it could be dynamic. It could be you need $50 worth of Star Atlas.
Right.
And that $50 worth of Star Atlas could be 500 or 1,000 or 10,000. In fact, what we're going to do is I'm going to clip this or get the timestamp of this, and I'm actually going to send this to Don and Michael Wagner at Star Atlas as a suggestion, because I think the issue with Star Atlas and lots of other games, I know we've focused on Star Atlas, but lots of other games is the emissions are so high, it's a race to zero for everything. And at the minute, you haven't got a reason to hold or acquire all of these tokens.
Yeah, you just have them.
You just have them. And what do you do with them?
Yeah, exactly. This is why you need
Buy pressure.
Even if the NFT you are getting itself in the game only maybe is a skin or it might give you a slight advantage, let's say.
Yeah.
The fact you have so many different systems for a user to use the token, which means they want the token, as long as you have like 3 or 4 different systems, like, you know, you have a random, like, I want to use this example as well because I feel like it's really valuable. How long have we been talking for ages about this? We should probably cut it a bit short here, but
it always happens when we talk about.
It's very valuable, because we both play games. We're both knowledgeable. But one of the things I want to point out was loot boxes with Overwatch 1 to Overwatch 2. Everyone complained in Overwatch 1 about loot boxes because it was all randomized. Everyone hated it. They completely removed loot boxes in Overwatch 2. Everyone's now complaining that they don't have loot boxes because it's really hard to get skins now.
People will moan about them with or without them.
No matter how much people will moan, loot boxes always prey on people's gambling.
Correct.
You know.
I mean, there's loads of things. I mean, we are going to stop after this, but one of the things I'm thinking of is you could have a multiplier. Yeah. So you could, for that period of time that you have the season, you could multiply your Star Atlas emissions by 5%. You could get skins for your ship. You could get ships drop. You can get the comic, which they have. So the lore of it. So there's lots of things you can put in it that don't add to the emissions of it. And the thing is, if you're getting people to buy ships and buy NFTs, you're still taking those tokens out of existence,
right,
and you're putting them into NFTs. So there's something else to look at there. But let's move on.
How long was that? Like 15
That was
minutes?
a long time. Now, this is before I let you talk. So each week or each episode, we're going to have a section. Either we were going to call it Hollywood news, but it doesn't fit, so it's called Hollywood. Okay. And occasionally we'll have Julian and his the Bard's Tale. Yep. So this episode, we've got something from you about Starbucks and Polygon.
Yeah, or Starbucks, Reddit, Meta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's do a bit quicker with this one.
This is the issue, right? The article is ginormous.
But you can obviously cut it down for us.
Right. So I'm gonna read the title, read the brief.
And just so you know, I don't know anything about this article.
Okay. So I'm gonna read the brief because obviously it's gonna give a lot of information in short sentences, and I'll scroll through it and try and get some good information out of it. So, rise of Polygon, Starbucks, Reddit, and Meta set stage for mainstream adoption. So the brief. In 2022, Layer 2 Ethereum scaling solutions have created a buzz across the crypto ecosystem. Polygon outperformed other major cryptocurrencies following the FTX collapse.
Correct.
What happens to Polygon after maximum supply is reached? Anyway, I
just want to say while you're reading that, I'll just do a bit of talking. So a Layer 2 Polygon, for example, it's a platform that sits on top of a Layer 1. A Layer 1 being Ethereum in this case. So Ethereum cannot process all of its transactions efficiently. So it needs a Layer 2 to sit on top to process the transactions, roll them up, and put them through Ethereum. And Polygon, of all the Layer 2s out there, Polygon is by far the most well used, the most efficient, the cheapest, and the fastest Layer 2 solution out there.
I mean, you could probably use the example of Amazon, for example. You have all these sellers and all these buyers.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of works. Where if the seller and the buyer had to communicate, you'd have to find the unique buyer, and you'd have to do one transaction through that buyer, and the buyer would have to sort it all out.
Yeah.
But with Amazon, it just rolls all the
transactions, everything together, it rolls them all up,
and it's pretty cheap. I mean, Amazon probably, it's pretty cheap. The buyer just goes in, everyone collects their orders. Amazon handles it all. Yeah. Makes it faster for all the buyers to put their stuff in and get it to the sellers. They're both aggregators. Right, yep. Aren't they? Which is hard to say when you've got a fairly stuffy nose like me. They're both aggregators of transactions. Mm-hmm. So, I've gone to the good bit, which talks about polygons. So, at the top of the article, we're halfway down, basically talks about layer 2s. You summed it up perfectly, so I'm not going to go into that. What I'm going to go into are the partnerships, or the main partnerships.
Has this got all the partnerships of Polygon? Because they have everybody.
Yeah. So it says at the time of press, Polygon had secured partnerships with Starbucks, Reddit, and Meta. So, is it raining?
Yes, it's absolutely pouring down outside.
So we have a window in the corner over there, which kind of has like an open. I just want to explain this because it's amazing. Right? We have a little open box, which is the sky, and I heard metal sounds outside. It's actually heavy.
We've
rain.
actually come to do this stream in the middle of a storm, and
Yes.
we've caught an eye or a window, and we're still here streaming for your entertainment.
Yeah. So, with all that said, please like and subscribe. We're trying to get 1 million followers.
I thought it was 2023 followers.
We're trying to get 1 billion followers. 14 million likes on this. No, I don't know. Just subscribe. That's all I have to say. Anyway, let's get on to it. Starbucks is building an NFT-driven loyalty rewards program called Starbucks Odyssey. The program will give away NFT stamps to customers and employees, and also sell limited edition NFTs. To unlock the benefits and experiences, members can immerse themselves in a series of interactive activities called journeys to earn digital collectible journey stamps and bonus points. So you can go in, use the NFTs and these points, I assume, for Starbucks products.
We had a better idea, didn't we, on the stream about 2 months ago?
We did talk about this.
And we said that you should have to have gone through a process with Starbucks to get access to certain drinks on their menu.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, let's say at Christmas, they have a gingerbread latte. To get the gingerbread latte NFT that allows you to have a gingerbread latte, you should have had to have bought 20 coffees over the previous 2-3 months. So what it does is, it's going back to the exclusivity thing, it makes people drink Starbucks to get access to the seasonal drinks, which they haven't done.
Yes, it's simple business. It's simple economics, where a business in a competitive market will use, like you see in Tesco loyalty card,
or even
Costa.
forget the drinks. Let's say they don't want to cause people to walk out because they haven't got the gingerbread latte, but a specific a VIP golden cup.
Yes.
So when they get the drink, rather than being in the normal, was it red or brown,
or
white and green or whatever, it could be gold and black.
Yes.
So they have to do this in a way that makes the person feel special,
exactly.
like a VIP, like they are, if you go up and you're in front of me and you get a black mug with a gold Starbucks emblem on it,
sick.
I'm going to say, how has that person got that drink?
And a free advertisement.
And then Starbucks says they're an NFT VIP holder. The first question you're going to say is, how do I become a Starbucks VIP NFT holder? It's the first question. And the guy's going to say, or the girl's going to say, download the app, use it every time you come in, and in 2 months' time, maybe you can get your black and gold Starbucks coffee cup.
I mean, at the end of the day, the best way of what I would say of garnering and keeping customers is to make the customer feel included and as special as possible.
Precisely.
So if you have challenges, it's like, so in Costa, it's like, if you get like eight coffees, is it? You get a free coffee at the end of it. It's a reason for them to come to your store, a reason for them to buy your products, and
Personally, if I'm in there at 8:30 in the morning getting myself a Costa coffee, I want them to put a shot of brandy in it because it's freezing at this moment in time, and I want something to warm me up.
Yeah, warm my bones up.
So, sorry, carry on.
Go to Reddit now. Reddit is using the Polygon network to mint unique NFT avatars on the platform. Following this, Reddit NFTs saw a 1,000% hike in sales volume.
Yeah, I've seen this, yeah.
I think, is it free? No, I don't think it's free, but...
No, you have to buy the Reddit token, which I can't remember the name of. But you have to buy the token to buy the NFTs.
Even Meta is partnering with Polygon to bring NFTs to Instagram.
Boo.
Soon users will be able to mint their own NFTs on the platform. Overall, Polygon-based NFTs saw a similar rising trend. So Polygon saw a 191% increase in NFT sales since the end of September as Web2 companies attempted to fully integrate NFTs into their platforms.
Yep.
So for what we're saying is basically all the Web2 companies and all the big brands which aren't in crypto yet.
You've not even mentioned Disney.
I will probably get onto it from in here. Yeah, Disney, what was it? The app. They've
they,
made the NFTs.
They do all
parks.
sorts. Yeah, there's Halloween NFTs. You get NFTs for going to certain parts and landmarks in the. If you go to a certain place during Halloween, you get a certain NFT. If you go to all the places within the Halloween period, you get a special one-off NFT.
Right.
So, I mean, my issue is when are when are we going to get to the point where there are too many NFTs? That's the question.
Yeah.
And you've got collectibles such as the NFTs that you'll get from Starbucks and playing games, whatever. But I like the idea of these kind of memories.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of NFTs being a reward for going somewhere.
Yep.
Like you go to Disneyland and your picture or your family's picture is the NFT. You know, like when you go to Alton Towers in the UK and you come down the log flume and there's a picture of you and your wife and you're all like that, terrified, and you get a little picture in your hand. That should become an NFT that you get, and it's a memory, and then the memory becomes valuable to you, and it doesn't matter how many there are. My issue is when Starbucks or Disney create 10 million NFTs and then they become worthless because the only value they have is to you, but it's not personal to you. It's just it's just a Mickey Mouse with a pair of fangs or whatever.
Yep.
So there has to be some kind of plan. Why do you need these NFTs?
Yep.
If you get these NFTs throughout the year, you get a gingerbread latte at Starbucks. You get the NFTs from the Halloween experience at Disney, and then next year you get a 20% discount or an upgrade on your hotel room. There has to be utility and value to those NFTs. Otherwise, you're just giving them flyers.
Yeah, basically just digital flyers.
Yeah.
Very true. That's pretty much the end of it. I mean, we didn't really talk about anything else. Just talk about its competitors, Polkadot.
Yeah.
But I mean, all I would say is that I think, I don't know if I finished it, but all the current companies trying to get into the like crypto.
Yeah.
They've all seemed to set their eyes, or maybe one company made a snowball effect where they were, okay, well, let's go for Polygon.
Yeah.
And now all these other companies are just using Polygon now. So I feel like Polygon is going to be
Polygon will be the market leader in 2 years' time.
Yeah.
You have Cardano, you have Solana, you have Ethereum, but for me, Polygon and real world use, for me, it's only Polygon. Now then, we move on.
Questions.
We've actually got the questions, but before we get to my question and your question, I think we've got Julian's answers.
Oh yeah?
So do you want to ask Julian's question first?
Yes. Who's answering it?
I'm going to read out the answers that he's put on here.
Alright, I'll put it on your camera then. So, Julian, who isn't here. Top 3 heroes of 2022.
The top 3 heroes of 2022, in Julian's opinion, are CZ, probably for him outing the bad actors in the industry.
Fair enough.
And keeping the confidence in the market. I agree with that one.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor is the Bitcoin maxi that owns MicroStrategy, which in turn has got, is it 120,000 Bitcoin?
Yeah,
he's been buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So I understand that one. And then Rishi. Yeah. So Rishi's one of his heroes. Yeah. I can see that because, to be honest, he couldn't do any worse, could he, than the people we've got?
Considering what happened previously, which no one's going to remember. No one seems to remember, and I wonder why. It was only the days were in the double digits, not even the triple digits.
Yeah. Right.
Very
so, what are the 3 questions for you? Or what's the question for you?
My question is top 3 NFT metaverse projects of 2022. I actually have a photo to go along with one of my answers.
Have you?
Yes, because I thought, okay, well, what do I think? Well, I want to get a range. Yeah, I don't want to just do metaverse and NFTs. I want to do NFT projects and metaverses. So my first answer is the Sandbox.
Yep.
And I'll show the picture now. My whole reason is this photo here. It has, you'll probably see it in about 15 seconds because it's so late. It has a lot of partnerships, a lot of big partnerships. Atari, Square Enix, Shaun
Yeah.
the Sheep.
Did you say Shaun the Sheep?
Yes, I know. Not even I knew that. Axie Infinity, which is another one of my big ones.
I'm waiting for this.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it up until you get it.
How far behind are we?
It's like 20. There it is.
There we go. Okay. There's an awful lot.
Yes, MetaMask pun.
Yeah.
What I'm trying to say here, Sandbox is a metaphor. I mean, obviously it has NFTs in it. I would say it's probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, metaverse. And the evidencing the quality of it based off of how many partnerships they have.
Yeah.
Not just in Web3, but in Web2.
Yeah.
Shaun the Sheep.
Okay. Next.
One of the NFT projects, which is also a game, mainly more now current time is NFT project is Startless. We've talked about it a lot.
Good answer.
Very good potential or very high potential for what we've seen.
Yeah.
And the demo, said it all. The quality and graphics is perfect.
So that's Star Atlas on the Solana network.
Yes.
Good answer.
And, another thing to add, the demo was on Epic Games.
Yes.
So what's not to say that the actual game will be on Epic Games?
Probably will be.
Very, very good to see.
Yeah.
I didn't really want to say for the last one. Nothing really stood out to me. But what I would like to say, Axie Infinity, the one with where you battle with the balls of animal, whatever it is. The reason I say this is it's one of the, I think it was when I thought about what was one of the first NFT games which I could think of which came out which was good. I think of Axie Infinity. I don't know if there were any other ones before that which were any good, but this one stands out to me because it's the oldest one from my memory.
It's an OG, yeah.
Very, very old one. Tried and tested. Did it get into some controversy with money and things like that?
It got hacked.
Right.
It got hacked and the tokenomics didn't work properly. Then there was some conspiracy theory, probably true theories about the fact that FTX was shorting the token.
Right.
So I think it's had a really bad rep for the last 12 months.
But it's still standing.
But it's still standing.
So it's been
like
shot
a
at.
weeble.
It's been stabbed.
It wobbles, but it never falls down.
Exactly.
Do you know who that's from?
Who?
Massive Attack.
Really?
Great band. Right, what's my question?
So your question is top 3 frauds of 2022.
Frauds for me.
Yes.
Number 1, Sam Bankman-Fried.
How couldn't it be?
Yeah, I don't think we need to go into why.
No.
He cost the industry 20 billion on his own.
Probably quite
maybe
a lot of
even
lives
more.
as well. I keep bringing this up for some reason.
Yeah,
but
he's probably brought down Luna. He's probably brought down UST. He's probably brought down most of the players in the industry. He's number 1 by a long way.
Right.
Number 2 is Alex Mashinsky from Celsius. The reason he's in there, whether or not Celsius became insolvent because of his practices, that's only part of the issue. The big issue for me is that for the last 5 years, he has said, "Your crypto, your crypto,
yes.
your crypto." And now they're going through the insolvency case. He is trying to take your crypto off you and sell it. So he's in there because he hasn't had the backbone to stand up and say, okay, it's your crypto. I will try and make you all right and whole as best I can. Instead, he's lawyered up and he's trying to screw people out of their own crypto. So he's number 2. I've got a third one, haven't I?
Yep.
This was a tough call, and I'm going to go with Do Kwon from the Luna Foundation.
Right.
I don't believe that he was wholly responsible or negligent for the crash of Luna and UST.
Okay.
However, he is guilty of negligence and not acting soon enough to stop the DPEG, stop the death spiral, and I think he lacked the experience to be in the position he was in. Whereas had you had older heads with more experience, they maybe would have been able to stop the chain, stop the death spiral, and limit the damage. So for me, it's Sam Bankman-Fried, Alex Mashinsky, and Do Kwon.
Good list.
Good list.
Who else? I mean, I know it's top 3. I know you can't play the top 5, but would there be any other names you could have added? Is there any other names you could have added?
I mean, there's a few, but they're not on the scale of those 3.
Those are the 3 biggest. From what I know of 2022, those are the big headline type stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go for. I was trying to also keep it to people that the listeners and watchers might have heard of. So there's other people that have rugged projects, NFT projects.
Yeah.
There's 3i Capital. There's people from them. Maybe BlockFi, maybe Voyager people, but their names are too obscure.
Right.
So I'll stick with them.
That's fine.
So that was, without Julian, an okay stream.
I enjoyed it. It was very good. I think we definitely went into a lot of detail on the games. I really enjoyed that, though.
I did.
Because we didn't just talk about crypto. We talked about psychology.
Yeah.
Keeping people spending their money.
Yeah.
Always good to talk about.
Always good.
Yes. Money.
So we're back on Saturday.
Yep.
12 p.m. Central European, 11 a.m. GMT. The rains will have stopped by then, so we should be on time.
Yeah.
And we have a different schedule for next week and the week after because it's Christmas. We're moving to, I think, Tuesday and Thursday, or Tuesday and Friday.
Okay.
So we'll update the dates and times on that. But thank you for watching.
Yep.
Please
like and subscribe.
And don't forget
to turn the bell on. Hey, I haven't mentioned that this stream, actually.
You haven't, no. Thanks again.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.